Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome. In this short video I will be explaining to you the various purposes of formal writing and formal speaking. Formal speaking, or formal speech rather, is a certain form of oral communication that is distinct from everyday conversation. And so in this presentation, when I refer to a speech or presentation, I'm referring to a particular form of oral communication which has certain features. I'm not using the word speech in the sense of speaking to refer to just any form of communication like chatting or conversation, etc. Please be clear. And to be clear, just as on the side of speaking we are talking about formal oral communication, speeches and presentations, likewise on the side of writing we are talking about the purposes or goals of formal writing. We're not talking about the purposes or goals of WhatsApp messages, texting, chatting, phone conversations, etc. Now theoretically, although speech and writing are put to very similar uses in one way, communication experts and teachers like to talk about the purposes of speeches / presentations and formal writing on the other hand differently and using different lens. Reasons are much too complicated. We don't need to go into why they do it. Suffice it to say that purposes / functions of formal presentations or speeches on the one hand and formal writing on the other hand are talked about, discussed in different ways. While the purposes of formal speeches or presentations are mainly two, that is either to inform / educate or to persuade. Sometimes the purpose of entertainment is also used, so to inform, to persuade, and to entertain. The purposes of writing, on the other hand, are presented in terms of explaining, persuading, describing, and narrating. And I'll be talking to you first about presentations and then about formal writing. So the first purpose of oral presentations or speeches is to inform the audience or to fill the gap, to educate them, to simplify something complicated, etc. And the second purpose is to persuade the audience, which basically means to change their opinion or to impress upon them the importance of something. We'll have more to talk about persuasion in a little bit because this is what is common across speech and writing. But coming over to writing, the first purpose is to explain, which means a bunch of things. Basically, explanation is a catch-all term. This would include all forms of analysis, certain forms of argumentation. This would also include things like comparison and contrast, and the elaboration of a process and a simplification of something complicated. Next to that we have persuasion, and persuasion means more or less the same thing as it does in oral communication, where it amounts to 3 levels of influence. Level 1 is moving or affecting somebody to the point that they begin to realize the importance or significance of something. Level 2 persuasion is changing someone's opinion or point of view. So if, let's say, someone is of the opinion that schools should open these days and you are of a different view, then you present your ideas in a way that they change their point of view and come to see that no, it's not good that we open schools now. Level 3 persuasion is mobilizing or activating somebody to take part in something practical, to make them do something which they're not doing currently. So, to dispose of garbage in a particular way, to vote for a certain person, and so forth. Then there is description, which means presenting the features, qualities, traits, characteristics, attributes. In Urdu we would call khususiyat and sifat, khubiyan, khamiyan of a person, place, object, even an idea. So it doesn't have to be something concrete. Finally, the 4th purpose is narration, which means storytelling. So you tell the story about something happening, following which something else happens. Now, it's important to note that narration here would include things like science practicals, describing science practicals. It would include recipes. Now you may say, why science practicals and why recipes? The reason is simple, because both of these are events. Something happens which leads to something else, which leads to something else. And so as long as we have a chain of incidents, one following another, we have a case for narration. In the next video, I will be explaining the 4 purposes of writing in detail with examples. I'll talk about the features